Hi everybody, we're just letting people in from the waiting room. We'll get started in a second. Thanks for coming. Just bear with us while we're getting everybody in. Okay, I think the waiting room is cleared, so I think we will get started. Amelia, if you want to start us off.
Okay. Hello and welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us. So the transition from school to sixth form college to sixth form or even college to university can be very challenging. Learning to navigate new settings, meeting new people, and explaining your needs can feel daunting. Tonight, this Q&A session, it aims to break down these barriers where we provide practical advice and shared lived experiences to help make your school transition as smooth as possible. So my name is Amelia. I have an undergraduate in criminology and criminal justice studies, and I'm a recent master's student in criminal psychology. I work part-time for the Cabinet Office, and I'm currently doing my qualifications to become a solicitor. It was actually through how I got into being with Look UK. It was through the Disability Network it was through the Disability Network at work that told me about Look UK. So I decided to apply because I wanted to help others and make a difference. So I have ocular albinism, I have a visual impairment, and so with my visual impairment, I am partially sighted. I will now pass you on to Ellen, who will introduce herself and will go over any housekeeping. Thank you.
Brilliant, thanks Amelia. Hi everyone, my name's Ellen. I work for Look. I'm one of the mental project officers, and Amelia, along with a couple of other panelists we've got here today, are fantastic examples of our Look mentors. So our mentors provide advice, support and guidance to visually impaired younger people based from their own lived experience. I'm just going to run through some boring housekeeping before we actually get to the good stuff. So if you wouldn't mind staying muted when you're not speaking, that will really improve the audio quality for everybody else. So just to make sure you haven't got any background noise, that would be great. If you have got any questions to put to the team, then please put them in the chat if you can. So if you're using an iPhone, you can tap on the more button and then the chat is in there. Or if you're on a Windows computer, the shortcut for the chat is Alt-H. We are recording this meeting tonight for our records and to be made into a resource. So if anyone would rather not be on camera so that they don't show their face on the recording, feel free to keep your camera off if you like. That's totally fine. We were hoping to be live on YouTube, but YouTube is not playing ball, so we will just stick to the recording for today. Pretty straightforward. We ask you to all use respectful language and just to be mindful of other people's opinions. And what we're going to do this evening is hear from our panel of mentors and Qtvi on this topic. And we're going to run through some questions that we've prepared based on questions and themes that have come up in mentoring, worries or questions that some of the parents that we work with have, young people and mentors as well based on their experience. So we've come up with a list of questions that we're going to discuss as a group, and we'd love to hear from you as well if you have any questions, so do please contribute in the chat. I think that's all the housekeeping for now, so I'm going to hand over back to Amelia to kick us off with introducing the panel.
Hi everyone, sorry, I didn't realize I was still on mute. So first of all, I want to introduce Alan. He's gonna introduce himself and explain about his own background, about how he came to be involved in Look, and about his educational background as well. So over to you, Alan.
Everyone. All right, so Al here. I'm 26 years old, and I became a Look mentor back in 2017 or 18, I think it was. I was still in my early 20s, and I was regarding a bit about my educational background. So I studied psychology and did my degree at UEL, and that was a good few years ago. And I also, prior to that, I went to a specialist college for the blind. But having been in mainstream most of my life, that was obviously quite a daunting experience. And this year I went back to do a PG cert in mental health and clinical psychology, and that was at London South Bank. Support wise, I've had very sufficient support with both my unis, and I also did level 2 counselling this year. I was doing that alongside uni, so bit of a sorry about that. I had quite a busy year. I'm going back to do level 3 next year, but yeah, basically that's my educational background. And one of the reasons I joined Look is because I really enjoy chatting to young people, and I really enjoy like finding out people's experiences and whatnot. And I think when I was thinking of the counselling stuff, when I started to think about that, when I started to realize I probably want to go down that route per se, I started to realize that this is definitely a good place where I could transfer those listening skills, even with it being online, mentoring and whatnot. What else can I tell you about myself? Sorry. More notifications. What's that? More notifications. So I guess basically, I'm still looking for employment, so that's been a bit of a barrier for me, but I'm still going. Anyway, I guess that's that'll be enough. I'll give the other person a chance to,
yeah, thank you. Yeah. We'll hear from you again in a minute. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Eliza, can we come to you next?
Yes, of course. So my name's Eliza. I'm 18, and I recently joined Look after finishing sixth form, where I studied BTEC Health and Social Care level 3 qualification, and I took the Silver Arts Award qualification, and now I'll be going to Brunel University and doing a bachelor's in English and creative writing. A bit about my visual impairment. I have a genetic eye condition called Leber's congenital amaurosis, which I don't believe many of you have heard of because it's one of the very rare ones. So I used to have some peripheral vision, but now I only have sort of like light perception, and I see sort of like firework flashing lights on a daily basis. Yeah, so that's a bit about me.
Thanks, Eliza. And we'll hear from you again in a minute as well, so thank you. And now Sarah, can we come to you?
Hi everyone, I'm Sarah. It's Sarah, sorry.
Sarah, sorry.
I'm a Qtvi. I work for London Borough of Hillingdon. I know Eliza. I supported Eliza through a lot of schooling, and I'm here. They asked me to come, sit in and listen, and I'm very excited at seeing what's going on and everyone's chat about going on to further education, and it's lovely to meet you all. Thank you for inviting me.
Lovely, thank you so much, Sarah. Okay, so now that we've met everybody, we are going to start off with the questions. So I'm going to go to Amelia to read us the first question, and then we'll go to our panel to see what they think.
Okay, so our first question is, how can I find out what support let me start again. Our first question is, how can I find out what support I am entitled to as I move into further education? So I'll kick it off, and I will say, when I first moved into further education, so when I started, let's say, my undergraduate, the first thing I did is to find out what support I'd get from the disability team. So I made a contact with the disability team first to find out, when I knew the university I wanted to go to, I found out from the disability team what I'm entitled to. I spoke to the disability living allowance team. I just did my more research about the subject that I wanted, the degree that I wanted to study, because it's all of those things are very important before you even go to university, to find out obviously the support that you'll be receiving, because you need to make sure that it's in line of to the needs that you have. Does anyone else from the panel have anything to add?
Hi there. So I think I kind of, just to echo what Amelia said, like I also went through booked an appointment with my disability units at both universities that I'd applied for when it came to my degree, especially when it came to, I think college to university was harder because I was still learning about all the things that are available, like student finance, DSA, which is within student finance. When I was finding out all the stuff I needed, it was also quite helpful in a sense before I started, that even before I knew which uni I was going to, I had someone who I could go to at college, even when I was at a specialist college, like who knew a little bit about how student finance and everything works, and what kind of things I should ask for. So I did get a bit of a heads up in that sense, and I did have someone sit with me and kind of prepare me for some of the things I'm going to need, which was very helpful. And I think as soon as I knew what questions to ask, basically, and they knew how to answer my questions. And I think that side of things was very, very smooth in that sense. And I think the best way for that is to keep asking around before you start, even before you know what university you're going to. If that transition, especially because of the amount of responsibility you're taking, whether it comes to the grants you need, knowing what support you're going to need, knowing what entitlements and stuff you've had previously, and actually being proactive about them, because it's literally about proactiveness with these transitions to further education. That's one of the biggest things. By the way, because I forgot to mention my eye condition earlier, it's anophthalmia, and I've got prosthetic eyes. Sorry, I just thought I'd add that in because I didn't say that earlier, and I know a few of us have mentioned what our eye conditions are. Anyway.
That's okay, thanks, Al. You know, when you said about you knew what questions you wanted to ask, can you expand a bit more on that and what kind of questions they were, just to give people an idea?
Oh yeah, so one of the things I asked, and I think questions I don't think should just be asked to our disability units. They should be asked all around. So for example, whether it's knowing about who's the head of the course and knowing about like this, I guess this applies a bit more when you know which university you're going to. But I guess asking about sort of the different areas, like, oh, what kind of, let's say, for example, I need a sighted guide. How do you guys provide that support? Do you do it in-house? Do you do it through an agency? Because that will determine how long a lot of things take. Because and it will vary from institution to institution, like how long it takes to put all the support in place, or even like, for example, let's say, for example, we have like mobility training. It's easier for some institutions to find that than it is for others.
Yeah, so it's about sort of
asking
them how their processes work. Is that
how their processes work? That's literally kind of where I'm coming from. That's
brilliant. Thank you. Eliza, what about you when you were moving to college? Because you're yet to go to uni, aren't you? So what was that like for you?
Yes, so I was very, very fortunate because the sixth form I went to was still in high school. So I went to Swakely School for Girls, which is in Hillingdon. And I was fortunate enough to stay on at sixth form. So I didn't really have, much of an issue settling in because I knew all the staff there. And obviously, Sarah knew me very well. And also, the only issue I think we sort of had was where there was transition work when going into sixth form. My use of technology wasn't very good, so it was about sort of like getting that brailled and sent to me so that I could read it in advance. If that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. So when you were in sixth form, did you still have the support of your QTVI Sarah, is that right?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, so Sarah, can we come to you just in terms of if you, because it might be the case for some people, if they leave school to go to an FE college, then they might not know what kind of they're entitled to, if they might not have the support of a QTVI in that setting. So what would you advise to people in that situation?
Obviously it's different boroughs, and obviously nationally things are different. Our service, for example, doesn't support students when they go to uni if they stay at college and they've got a plan. So I think if you are on an education healthcare plan, the first thing that you need to do when well before you're starting is find out when that stops and how you then change over to the DSA. And I think, like with Elisa and another student, the school were very, very proactive, and things were put into place, and the girls both knew exactly what was happening. And I think, to me, that would be my top tip. Find out if you're on a plan. If you're not on a plan, I think it's very much like what Ali said, is just go and ask as many questions as possible. Whether they have a student resource base, whether they're like a SEN, because the universities that I've worked with, they all have like a student support unit, and it's getting there, like Al said, getting in there and asking those questions. What kind of support? This is the support I've had. Are you able to maintain this? And as Al said, it's also in a timely fashion, because you don't want to find out that you're starting in October and your mobility doesn't start until November if it's not in place. So I think that's really important. I hope that sort of answered that question a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it's that, we're sort of talking a little bit about universities, but it should be the same case in FE colleges as well. So FE colleges should also have someone appointed in the college to support students with disabilities. So in that situation as well, it's a case of kind of finding out who that key person is, isn't it? And then making friends with them, basically, making that connection. Great, that kind of leads us on quite well to our next question, Amelia, if you want to go to the next question.
Okay, so our next question is, what is the best way to advocate for your social needs if you no longer have a QTVI to support you? So if I can answer
it's 1922.
Sorry?
Oh, sorry. Oh, I think somebody's not muted. Sorry, if we can just make sure that we're muted so that we can all hear the speakers, that would be really great, thank you. So sorry, Amelia, do you want to just read out the question again, just in case anybody didn't hear?
Okay, so the question is, what is the best way to advocate for your access needs if you no longer have a QTVI to support you? So if I can answer this one, it was only when I didn't, to be honest, it's only when I first looked that I didn't even know what a QTVI stood for, to be honest, because I never had any of that when I was even in secondary school, or even college. So the best way that my needs were advocated for was I would always have to constantly be telling someone, I need this, I need that. Even when I did have class support at secondary school. It was only in some lessons, it wasn't in all lessons. So it was constantly having to tell people or having to tell teachers, I need this needs to be enlarged and everything. Does anyone of the panel have anything to add?
Hi there. So I did have a Qtvi in secondary school and a primary actually, and I was very lucky in the sense that the Qtvi did move around. So she was someone who ran the departments at the secondary school, especially like for the VI unit, because they did have, it was actually the provisions were actually quite good in terms of what they knew. Their provisions were very good, and she was basically part of leading all the Braille courses for the staff and stuff like that. Anyway, just to give a bit of context. So I was lucky enough to have a Qtvi, but I think when it comes to further education and knowing that you're kind of, I'm guessing that's kind of where we're leading to with the question. So I guess like when it comes to that, even after like having been to a blind college, I feel like that gave me the chance to brush up on, it's definitely worth brushing up on technology skills where possible, especially with a young person when they're trying to like, it's better to learn these things early on for a lot of people. And I know that can be daunting. And I think definitely, and I've said this previously as well, to people, that it's always, it's always best to, if you're in a position, and not everyone will be, but if you're alternatively in a position where teachers you can talk to a teacher and say, hi, I need X amount in advance, so I can have, if I don't have a Qtvi unit that can prepare it, I can prepare it and turn it into an accessible format for myself at least, because then that way I know what I'm asking for and I know what the lessons are going to be, and if there's anything that was previously inaccessible, there'll be a way of attempting to make it more accessible, that particular lesson. And I've had experiences like that before. Secondary school, I had very good teachers. College, again, because I went to a specialist college, it was very, they obviously knew what we needed. They knew what each individual needed. But again, that's not possible for everyone. So I think again, proactiveness and knowing what it is that you need help with. I think the brownie points come from that, not not the whole I'm too scared to ask for help, so I'm going to do everything on my own.
Sorry, it's a tricky one to master, isn't it? Being able to sort of advocate for what you need yeah, definitely. It's a good balance to find, and the advantage is that if you go to college before then going to uni, then you can kind of practice that at college, can't you, before you then go to uni and have to do it at uni as well. So
definitely.
Excellent, thanks guys. We're going to go to the next question now, I think. So Amelia, do you want to read the question?
Okay, so how did you make new friends when you started in a new educational setting? So for me personally, I'm not going to say, oh, they all came to me, because that would be a lie. It was quite tricky, because especially when I started when I went to sixth form after secondary school, I was quite fortunate because I had friends from secondary school who went to my sixth form. So it was quite, I wouldn't say easy, but it was, I would say that was my kind of like comfort zone, because I didn't have to branch out and try and make new friends, because it was the confidence thing as well. I was able to say, oh, okay, I've got friends so that was my starting point, because I had friends from secondary school join me into college. But then when I moved obviously to university, I was on my own. But then as a mature, because I started university when I was 26, so as a mature adult, it became, I wouldn't say easier, but it was I guess I would say, like, when I was at university, it was better to make friends than it was when I was at like sixth form or even college, because everybody was mature, everybody had the same kind of mindset, So it was just easy to be like, oh, hi, how are you? Because you'll be sitting next to each other in a lecture environment anyway. So it didn't feel nerve-wracking. And yeah, I think it's because I was a mature student. So I guess I don't want to say I wasn't there to make friends, but because it was a lecture hall and most of the students were mature, it was easy to be like, oh, hi, how are you? Then it's not easy in college, starting out in college, making new friends and everything. But yeah.
Thanks, Amelia. Al or Eliza, did you guys have anything to add on making friends?
Yeah, so for me, again, my situation was very much similar to Amelia. So when I went to sixth form, I knew quite a lot of the people there. I also have another friend who's visually impaired. So we went to sixth form together, and, you know, we would be together sort of during study periods, or, you know, at lunch in the common area. So for me, it wasn't much of an issue. And, you know, I had other girls that I was friends with. So friendship was, yeah, it wasn't very difficult.
Have you thought about how you might manage when you go to uni, Eliza? Have you planned that side of it at all, or you're just going to see how it goes when you get there? Because it's a strange thing to try and plan, isn't it, I suppose?
Yeah, I mean, I want to see how it goes, but you know, I'm quite open to introducing myself and seeing how people react to, because I think when you have a conversation with somebody, you know, they'll talk to you, but the minute you indicate that you have a visual impairment or any other disability, you know, their whole sort of demeanor changes. They'll start feeling sorry for you, and they'll tread very carefully with how they speak to you.
Yeah, that can be the case, can't it? And you know, it's tricky sometimes. You know, I think that sort of comes from other people's just sense of discomfort sometimes, just about not wanting to say the wrong thing. And I think it's quite common for people to not say anything for fear of saying the wrong thing, which is obviously difficult for us as the VI people. So sometimes unfortunately the onus has to be on us a little bit to kind of put ourselves forward and, you know, make ourselves friendly and say hi, and just kind of be forthcoming with that and help make people feel comfortable as well. Al, did you have any additional tips to add on?
Sure thing. I kind of wanted to give Eliza a chance. Basically, I think I've had a mixture. So I think with college, because I had people my age and it was a smaller community, it was quite easy to make friends in the sense that a lot of us were talking the same language because we were VI or partially sighted, or blind or partially sighted, or there was that to kind of help with that. But I think there was also, I mean, it was daunting. I think college was definitely daunting because it's like I was definitely more in the spotlight. But I think in terms of making friends, it took its time, but I think it was definitely fine when it came to things just improving and gelling with the right people. I think is definitely important, and I think especially in uni, when we're all fresh, and I think undergrad. And I was actually having a conversation the other day about this. I think undergrad is where everyone's fresh, and you know, where you got more of the sort of crowd that you have of the expected age, if that makes sense. And then you kind of, everyone's just trying to find their feet, and people will come and talk to you. But I think the danger with that is you start to develop this expectation that, oh, maybe these people will come to me. And I think it is, as everyone has said so far, it is definitely important to kind of come out and introduce ourselves and just talk to a few people. And if we're in a queue or something, maybe just, even if we I'm not saying start bumping into people and whatnot, but like if we're in a queue or anything and someone starts talking to you, I'd definitely encourage that. The one thing I would encourage is just have a conversation, have a normal one. Okay, fine, normal. I mean, what I mean is like the best way of breaking down barriers is basically have an open mind and show that in your persona, like how to just, you know, talk. And you know what, we all have different levels of personality, and that's, you know, that's not got nothing to do with being blind. Some of us are introverts, some of us are extroverts. It might have something to do with our vision impairment, it might not. But I think we're all different and we'll have different ways of doing that. But I think with me, it's definitely been I've had a bit of both going on. So sometimes I've had people come to me, sometimes I'd be sat on a chair or something, or sometimes I needed guiding to a room or something, or I'd gone past the door or something and someone would guide, and conversations would kind of start from there. And I think it's
quite organically. That's quite cool, isn't it?
even the guiding thing, even if I know my way, sometimes I just let someone guide me because it's a social thing, you know? It's quite it's quite a nice thing.
Yeah, it is just to kind of set up those opportunities organically, just to chat to someone. Yeah, that's
definitely.
No harm in that. Excellent.
Yeah.
Thanks, Al.
Yeah. No,
Back to you, Amelia. I feel like I'm going back to the weather, but Amelia with the next question.
Okay, so the next question is, how did you approach telling people about your visual impairment? How did you approach telling people about your visual impairment? So
this is a little bit related to the last question, isn't it? I suppose.
So with me, I would tell you that I have a visual impairment because it's obvious from the time that you meet me. So if we were having a Zoom conversation, I will just say, I might switch my camera off because I might need to look close up at the screen and you don't want my big face in your camera and everything. I'll make a joke out of it, or I will just be like, oh, if we're working together, it's just me. I'll just be like, I have a visual impairment, just to let you know. I might need to bring things closer. For me, it's never been a problem just saying to someone my sight, because they might be waving at me from the across the road thinking I can see them, and if I don't see them, they might think I'm being rude. So if you tell them if I say to them, oh, my sight from a distance, I can't see, just to make you aware. So when I started at the Cabinet Office, if I give an example there, when I started at the Cabinet Office, even though we were working from home, we were doing a lot of video calls and everything. So if I was having a meeting with my colleagues, I would just say, oh, just to let you know, I have a visual impairment. I have a monitor, another monitor. So if I'm looking to the side, that's the reason why. And I do a lot of work with virtual assessment centers. So I'm constantly talking to candidates, assessors, moderators. So I will then say to them, oh, just to make you aware, I have a visual impairment. So if I'm not looking at the screen, I'm looking at my other monitor, just to make you aware, just so that they don't think I'm being rude or anything. Even when I meet new people, when I meet friends, I will just say I have a visual impairment, like so that they know, and that there's no awkwardness. Because imagine, like I said, imagine if we're walking somewhere and someone is waving from another person is waving and I can't see and I don't say anything, it could seem as if I'm rude. So yeah, so you kind of try and avoid that awkwardness by just getting it all out in the open. Awkwardness and me, I don't like it. So I'll just approach the person and say, obviously, if it's I suppose it's the type of person you are if you want to explain to people about your site, but I've never had a problem personally just saying, oh, by the way. But I suppose if it's just a stranger that you're just going to meet in for 2 minutes, you wouldn't explain it. But because mine is obvious, I just, and then some people just shrug because it's like, okay. Yeah. So Al or Elisa, do either of you approach telling people about your VI differently to Amelia? Do either of you have any sort of different strategies?
Okay, so I guess, like I said, this is very related to the last question, but I think in terms of how I would approach people, I think I make it quite obvious. Like I'm not, because I think as VI people, a lot of us, and having spoken to a lot of people who have VI people who have ended up in mainstream settings, a lot of us worry that we're not going to have friends, so we try and be overly independent and do this and do that. But anyway, that's not always a bad thing. But I think the most obvious thing I do is I do have my cane on me when I'm in new settings, and when I do make it very visible that I've got the vision impairment. So, sometimes I will tell people, and sometimes I'll just let people ask me questions. Because a lot of the time, people have known what the white stick thing is for, and I've never usually had to explain that side of it. But there are times when you do, because we all have different levels of awareness when it comes to disability and whatnot. So
yeah, and
to respect
what
that.
does that kind of explanation look like to you, Al? Like, do you go into the full ins and outs of your actual condition, or you keep it brief? Like, have you got a set phrase you say?
So I don't really have a set phrase. I let these things come up in conversation. Like, I'll have people ask me loads and loads and loads and loads of questions, and that's both face to face and online. Like, but then you do meet people who want to come back to your vision impairment. It's like, oh, how do you do this? How do you do that? But I'm very much on the let's stay open. Let them ask me questions. Let them see that I'm vision impaired. And I'm discreet, but I also. I will make a joke about my, like Amelia kind of said, I do, I'm someone who really is very chilled and doesn't get offended easily. So I make the silliest jokes about the vision impairments and whatnot. And some people are left laughing because they've got it straight away. And then some people, I'll give you do you want an example? Because I think we're running out of time. And we need to move to
I think we are running out of time,
yeah.
but I think that's a really good point, Al. I think humor does ease things, and I think it's down to your personal boundary at the end of the day, isn't it? I sort of find it easier to just have a stock phrase that I say to people, so I just kind of say it without having to think too deeply about it. And then if I've worked on sort of having my own boundaries. So if someone asks me a question that I just don't really want to answer, then I just say, I'm sorry, I don't really want to answer that right now. It's you can kind of work that out, and that is a lot easier to do the more you do it, and the kind of older you get, to be honest. But yeah, it's different for everyone. Elisa, I just want to check if you have anything to add before we go to the next question.
Yeah, so I kind of want to talk about it in a school setting as well. I think what they used to do like an assembly. So did it in sixth form, I think, I can't remember, or in like other year groups, and just kind of tell them that you have a visual impairment. You kind of show them a bit about what sighted guide is, show them what the white cane is, and just to kind of tell them to be mindful. But I think I have to agree with the others as well, that the white cane tells people a lot, that you have a visual impairment. Often people will respect you in public, and sometimes they'll stare at you thinking, what on earth is wrong with you? Which it doesn't affect me, but the people around me, it does affect. Like, say my parents, I'll be walking with them, it affects them.
Yeah, I think it's a thing you might have to sort of develop quite a thick skin about, isn't it? And someone told me something once, because I used to be really, really worried. I think especially when I went to uni, I used to feel very self-conscious. I think, oh my God, everyone's staring at me all the time. Everyone's staring at me using my white cane. And someone told me once, no one's looking at you. Everyone's looking at their phone. So that really helped me. That really helped me feel less self-conscious, because it was like this real light bulb moment of thinking, yeah, actually, no one does care. Everyone's too busy looking at TikTok. So fair play. Okay, so Amelia, what's our next question?
What is our next question? Okay. Were there any support groups you joined that helped you build your confidence and grow your independent skills that you would recommend? So if I start, at secondary school, I didn't join any groups. There was nothing like Look when I was growing up anyway. But from like university, so from like 26, I then started to join like organizations like the RNIB, and then obviously Blind in Business, who work with those who are like job hunting and everything, and then the careers team that they would from university, who would have their own teams that you could join groups with, and then obviously like Look came along and everything. So but my support group was, I would say, friends and family, because they were the people that helped me with my confidence. I also joined the church, so the church helped me with my confidence as well and everything. Regarding like independence and confidence, for me, So I'm 34 now. So the confidence for me, I'm still working on that. So even doing this for me is helping me with my confidence, because it's helping with the speaking and everything. So there's various support groups out there. And it's also good to do your own research as well, because there's not all the support groups that you need to be joining, but it's the ones that maybe someone has recommended or you yourself have found from like friends, through university, through college. But in terms of also like building independent skills, you yourself have to try it, because it's good to have that network of support, but you also need to help yourself as well, because you don't want to have to rely so much on someone that if their person isn't there anymore, then your confidence goes, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, it makes total sense. Yeah. Al or Eliza, do you want to add anything to any kind of support groups or networks that you found useful at college or at uni or post-16 education?
I joined the RSBC because I basically found out about them through Sarah, who sort of signed me up during the lockdown period where, you're kind of bored at home and you need to socialize with somebody. And I really enjoyed their sisterhood sessions, which is basically every Tuesday, like the group kind of gets together, mostly, like teen girls, and we talk about, issues that exist in women going through adolescence and just, general life skills, like, for example, advocacy, independence, and other sort of like various independent living skills. I think through that you kind of meet new people and learn about how other people approach different sort of like situations to how you might do it. And yeah, basically.
Thanks, Eliza. Yeah, I think that's a really valuable thing to signpost to the RSBC Sisterhood group, because I've heard a few of our mentors and mentees really get a lot out of that group. So if anyone doesn't know, please feel free to look up the RSBC. Does the Sisterhood group still run, Eliza? Do you know?
Yes, it does. I mean, if you sign up with the RSBC, if you become a member, they'll send you a program every month of what events they've got running, and they do have the sisterhood. So it's just a case of kind of signing up and responding to an email, and it's over Zoom, and there are some sessions that they now do face-to-face now that restrictions have kind of a bit lifted at their Life Limit Centre.
Brilliant. So so anyone sort of local to London can go to the face-to-face, but you can also join in on Zoom as well. That's brilliant. So we'll go to Amelia for the next question, if that's all right. Just conscious of time.
Okay, so the next question is, what technology did you find most helpful in sixth form college and why? So,
and sorry, Amelia, I just wanted to jump in here because just to kind of give a bit of context, that I think technology is the key to everything these days, isn't it? Yep. To sort of being able to access your class materials, being able to actually write your assignments, and then being able to access any feedback that you get as well. So tech is so important for being able to actually manage your schoolwork, but also, as well as your kind of your sort of life admin as well, and being able to, check your calendar and think, oh yeah, I've got a lecture on this day at this time, and so on and so forth. So yeah, sorry, Amelia, go ahead.
Oh no, so I would say that my tablet, that was my go-to and everything. That was the technology that I found most helpful for when I started my undergraduate. I used it constantly, and even through masters as well, I used that because I could enlarge the screen, I could do offline reading, my laptop as well, because when you join the university, you get to know that you get to work with the library team, which is the disability net team, and then they obviously tell you about the different software like Dragon. But then again, there's certain softwares like Dragon where it's like you speak and then it writes for you. So it can also make you become lazy as well. So I obviously like that a lot. So I use that mostly when I was doing my essays, because most of the time you don't want to type and someone can just do the typing for you, put the words up on Word for you. So the software Dragon, and yeah, most of the time it was text to speech. But my laptop was just the saving thing for me in terms of technology. And with the technology side of things, I was also able to have my large printed materials as well, so printouts as well, so that also helped. Al, do you have anything to add?
Okay, so I think, because especially now, as Ellen quite rightly pointed out, like made a very interesting point, like, I think technology has been the biggest thing. So I think when it came to college, I was kind of transitioning between starting to use a laptop fully, because we were using a lot of, because when it came to secondary school, we were very much using Perkins Braillers, and primary school were very much using Perkins Braillers. So it was like, it didn't really matter because you just put some paper in and do whatever. But when it came to college and uni, I started realizing, look, you know, I can send emails and whatnot, but I need to do some a bit more for myself. So I need to be able to browse the internet properly. I need to be able to know the shortcuts and everything. I need to be able to do things as quick as a lot of sighted people will, because I'm going to be at university where things are going to be fast paced. Some lecturers are going to work differently. Some are going to be very upbeat and some are going to be very slow. And when it comes to things like taking notes and saving documents and things like that, I think my laptop has been like, having a laptop has definitely been a big thing. And that's one thing that I mentioned during my needs assessments that I had. Sorry, background noise. But yeah, I think these like having a laptop with JAWS, having the shortcuts that both JAWS and NVDA can use. So for anyone who doesn't know, it's a screen reader, and you kind of you type, unlike Dragon, which is by the same company, I believe. You basically you type and it will tell you what you're typing, and it will read things on the screen when you press like down arrow or page down, or if you want to read like whole page. Anyway, having these extra things on a laptop has been very helpful. And I think I learned a lot. I got a chance to really brush up on those skills when I was at college, because again, specialist college, they're going to be clued up on a lot of the technology. I think that a lot of people are getting iPads and things now, but we were mainly getting laptops. So I think that was definitely a savior for me.
Thanks, Al. What about you, Elisa?
So
Really
technology for me, I was very hesitant with using technology. I didn't have the confidence at all. I was frightened to use it, and I just preferred everything on sort of like Braille paper. But as sort of like lockdown came, I worked with the RSBC and I was able to learn how to use VoiceOver on an iPhone, and I've got my Braille Note Touch Plus, which I can't live without. I can't live without any Apple product. I just think Apple's an amazing company who've made all their products universal, and you don't have to pay for any of the software. I can use a MacBook, iPad, iPhone.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Elisa. There's such a wide variety of tech out there, that there's so much available now, that it's really worthwhile sort of looking into the different options, and talking to the people around you, the people supporting you, and I'm sure Sarah would agree that people like your QTVI and your TA can kind of advise and help you work out what tech would work for you as well. So tech is really important. We've just had a question from Maggie, I think. She says that she's just got her GCSE results and passed maths level 5, only passed maths level 5. She doesn't want to do vocational courses, because she doesn't know what she wants to do yet. And she's asking what kind of options does she have. So I'm going to sort of come to Sarah first, if that's okay, and whether you have any ideas on this. What if you had a student like Maggie, what would kind of be your advice or be your next steps for a student like that?
Okay, I assume, yeah, my assumption is that Maggie might go to sixth form, go back to school and see what they've got, because they can't just be offering vocational courses unless it's a very, very small school. Elisa, for example, didn't particularly want to do vocational courses, but they found something that she would like to do. Thoroughly enjoyed it. I know she did. I would personally say go back to school, talk to your careers advisor or the sixth form head, and discuss. And if there isn't anything there, and I understand you don't know what you want to do at the moment. I was very much in that situation when I was younger. Have a look at colleges and see if there's something you fancy there. I'm not too sure. You've got your maths. Is that saying that you didn't get your English? And is it something that you need to sort of resit? I know Elisa had to work hard to resit some of her exams, but my first port of call would say, if you haven't got a QTVI, go back to school and say to them, okay, I don't want to do that. What can I do? Because they must be able to offer you something that you would like to do. I hope that helps.
Thanks, Sarah. Yeah, I think I'd agree that, wherever you've done your exams so far, your GCSEs, your school, they should have a careers advisor or someone at the school who can advise for any next steps that you take. And resitting is always doable. And resitting is also doable at college, isn't it? You don't kind of have to stay in school to resit things like maths or science or English, those kind of core subjects. You can resit those at an FE college, so you can always do that alongside another course that you enjoy and that you have more of an interest in if something else is a bit of a struggle. So yeah, thanks Sarah for that really helpful advice. I hope that's helped Maggie. So guys, I'm just a bit conscious of time. We have got a lot more questions, but thankfully we will be addressing a lot of these questions in the resources that we're going to make and be posting on our website as well after this event. So we're just going to come to one last question, if that's okay, and then we're going to finish up. So Amelia, over to you.
Okay, so the last question is, was the level of work required in sixth form college a big leap from GCSE? And if so, how did you manage this? So the level that you can, when it comes to sixth form work and GCSE work, I would say that the GCSE level work is preparing you for sixth form college. But then if you're making that jump from, as I did, from mature student, university student at 26, when I started my undergraduate, but when I finished sixth form, I was like, what, maybe 18, 19. So that level of work, you don't realize how much work is involved until you actually start doing it. So from, even if I was going to say the level of work from undergraduate to master's, that transition, you have to prepare yourself mentally as well as physically, because there's a high, no matter what level of, even if it's sixth form, college, GCSE, you still have to, there's still a high level of work because you're going to the next level, the next step. So as you climb higher, the work gets even higher. The pressure is on you, but the pressure is a good kind of pressure because you want to do well. If you're remaining at the same level, where's your growth? The fact that you're able to go from finish your GCSE and go to sixth form, you can go from sixth form college to university, but the level of work is higher because it's steps. So the higher you climb, the more harder it becomes.
Amazing. Thanks, Amelia. What a motivational ending as well. I love that. That's
I
awesome. Eliza, sorry, was that Al? Did you want to add something? How did you find
Should I?
the jump from GCSE to sixth form or to college? What
be
was that
fair,
jump of that workload
I think
like?
the workload. Sorry, I think the workload was, especially when you think you're doing the same subjects. Oh yeah, I'm going to do a really good job because I did GCSE. I think you know what it is. You start to realize as well, like because I for my first year I did like I was biology, maths and whatnot. I was thinking those subjects. Oh yeah, I was doing really well at GCSE. Thing is, there was a lot to get used to get to grips with. I found, especially because I was getting used to actually being a little bit more, a little bit less dependent on help, because I think it was the organization and stuff that was a big part of that, because I was staying in college, there was a lot going on, but at the same time I think the workload, I think for me, because of that, it was a combination of the workload being a bit higher, and I think it is a big leap. I think even if I hadn't had the workload being higher, I think I still would have found it quite difficult. But I think, you know what, it's really about, because you're going to do AS. If you decide you want to do AS and A2, it's all about you can start with trial and error. Like, you can always decide, oh, I did the wrong A levels this year. Maybe I'll do a third year in college. Maybe I'll there is always that option. And the year after, I found when I was doing better subjects that suited me a bit more, I went in with a bit of a fresh mindset, slightly newer crowd as well, and I felt like that helped a lot with the workload. And I feel like, I don't know, it really depends on what you're good at, and how it all depends on the person's perspective of how high, what your expectations are. It's all about what your expectations are and what subjects you choose to do.
That's a good point, Al, about having that flexibility of being able to try something and then think, actually, maybe this isn't quite working, and switching out and changing to something else, and not feeling under pressure to stick to a certain timeline, isn't it? And that's a really good point. Thank you. Eliza, how did you find any useful tools, or did you pick up any helpful strategies for managing that increase in workload?
To be honest, because I did a BTEC, even art, the qualification I did in art, it was a B. I didn't find it too difficult, because it was kind of like doing coursework and working through it gradually. Even if I did have the extra time, I would complete it mostly on time. And what really helped was, especially in health and social care, I had all my materials in Braille, my textbook, PowerPoints, or some would be sent sort of like as a Word document, so I could read them on my Braille Note Touch. It made life a lot easier. So I was quite independent, and I didn't really need that much help in health and social care compared to like art.
That's brilliant. And you mentioned a really important thing as well there about extra time. And that's a good thing to remember for people as well, that there are things in place. You can ask for extra time with coursework. You can have extra time in exams, and you can kind of negotiate that with your support team and with college or uni. I know that I had to extend quite a few deadlines at uni. I was doing a literature degree, which is a lot of reading, and just the time it took me to trawl through these books was immense. So I did just have to ask for extensions, and people are really understanding. So that's always an option as well, as long as you kind of get there. It's about not focusing on that set timeline again, like we've said before, isn't it? Brilliant. Thank you, guys. So I am aware that we are coming up to 8 o'clock if we're not already there. So I'm just going to ask each of our lovely team to provide us with your top tip, one snappy top tip, for anybody starting sixth form or college or uni or any kind of post-16 education. Anyone starting in the next couple of weeks, what is your one top tip for them, if you can? So who would like to go first, or am I going to have to pick a volunteer?
I'll go first, I don't mind.
Amelia, yeah, go for it.
I would say use the various support services that your college or university offers, because it's very important.
Perfect, thank you. Al, have you got one?
Just thinking on my feet. Yeah, kind of what Amelia said, but also like take advantage of the good days because you're young then, and you want to enjoy.
Live your best life.
Yeah, but also not just that, but like I guess enjoy. Sorry, I can't. Sorry, it was speech. Sorry. I think take advantage of all the things you have, whether it's having an opportunity to talk to a new friend, or whether it's finding a teacher and talking to them about a new subject you might want to do, or potentially do. Let's say, for example, like what if you have basically grab all the opportunities you have, both socially and academically.
Brilliant. That is an excellent. Thanks, Al. Eliza, what's your top tip?
I would say that if you're doing, say, a subject that requires a lot of reading, try and get the content beforehand, because if you're, say, a Braille reader, it's going to take you 10 times longer to plow through it. So if you pre-read some of the content, you're likely to be more confident in class, because I found that very useful.
Nice, good one. Thank you. That's a great tip. And Sarah, have you got any tips for anyone here tonight starting sixth form or college next week?
I would say go and buy some confidence. Look in the mirror and just say to yourself, I can do this. And I think Eliza would back me up. I've always said nothing is impossible.
Absolutely.
Nothing. So if you want it, go out and get it. Dream high and just have the confidence to say, I'm going to do this. I'm going to get out there and I'm going to go and find out what I need. And if just try and gain some confidence. If you're a person that hasn't got any confidence, go and buy some. Go look in the mirror and say, I can do this, and get yourself some confidence.
Brilliant. Thank you, Sarah. No, that's brilliant. I feel like I can take on the world now. You're a very good cheerleading team, guys. Excellent. Okay, so thank you so much to everyone for joining us tonight. Sorry that we couldn't be on YouTube again, but it's been lovely to have you here with us on Zoom. Please remember to check out our website and to sign up to our newsletter if you haven't already, to find out about more events like this, and also to make sure that you have access to the resources that we're going to post as well. So Amelia, Al and Eliza have all written blogs about this topic that will be posted on our website, so please do go and check those out, and we'll be making resources from this discussion as well, and kind of answering those questions that we haven't quite had time for today. So we look forward to seeing you again soon, and good luck to everyone starting sixth form or college. Take care, everybody.
Take
care, everyone.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you for being
Thank
here.
you.
Bye-bye. Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.